Recording. Okay, guys, so we are recording officially on this. So please, if we could make sure that we are muted, which would be super, super awesome. I don't want to say mute all, and the reason being is because I want to make sure that we can unmute ourselves when we want to unmute ourselves later. So that'll be great. Okay, so welcome. This is going to be a super cool session. I don't know what's happening to my hair right now. I don't know where I've been, but anyway, let's see, share screen. Okay. Oh, before I share screen. Okay, so remember, we have got our card. You guys have all got yours. You've cut it out, and it's got the 6 different areas that we can look at as we're going through there. And we had the little star, and the little star was our life purpose, our self-imaging, our priorities, what controls our lives, our values. Now we're going to add the second star to it as well. So now we've got 2 stars that we could add into this thing. So please make sure your homework for this weekend is to cut out the second star. So if you don't have it, please make sure you text me. I did post them on the group. They're on the Facebook group, but you might have to scroll down to find them. So let me make a note to maybe go and add it onto the group so that you can cut out your second star, because it's so important that you have it. So I'm just going to put here star number 2. And tomorrow morning I'll wake up and wonder, what is star number 2? So it's mastering, what are we mastering? Relationships. There we go. Okay, great stuff. So we're mastering relationships. Admit everybody in. So welcome. So that's the second thing. So please make sure that you have got your card, your star, your second star, because it's so important now how these are going to be working together, and we'll be showing you exactly how it actually works together. Super. Okay, let's now share screen, and please, I'm going to ask if you don't mind making sure that you are muted. Muted. There we go. Just make sure everybody is muted as we go. Super. Thank you, guys. There we go. Now we go. Okay, so we are going to be doing some talking and some chatting as we go through. If you can't, please, sorry, Tessa, I asked you to unmute yourself an accident. Great, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are now going to start the session because we've got some amazing stuff we're going to go through. Okay, sharing screen. I am going to make sure that my video, let's minimize that, put it over there, and yes, I can put my video on for now. Okay, so welcome guys to this session. We're now doing the second group of information with regards to mastering. Last week we did the last couple of weeks we've been doing mastering ourselves. Now we're going to look at mastering relationships. 4 sessions to this one, and then we're going to go into mastering leadership and how we can go through our teams with leadership. So most of us, when we enter into relationships, we have this tendency to be totally overwhelmed. Okay, we are overwhelmed in all areas. I think I'd be totally overwhelmed as well if a horse had to stick its head through and open its jaw like that with me. But yes, it is really something that is going to, when we are in relationships, and we are, let me just make sure, yes, I did say admit to, I want to make sure I did let Yvette in. I don't want to let her, sure I did. Right, Yvette, if you are in, I see Brenda is waiting to go in. There we go. Right, I've now got it all sorted. Okay, super. Okay, right, there we go. I've now got this going. Okay, so yes, we're going to be, and what we have a tendency to do with relationships is, with relationships, we all have a tendency to, we all have this tendency in our relationships to squeeze things in. We don't take relationships that seriously, and so therefore we try and squeeze them in, just like this poor child has been squeezed into the middle of mommy and daddy there riding this motorbike. But we need to realize that that is not how life works, and relationships really do need a lot of work. As Anthony and I always say, the only way to spell the word marriage is in actual fact to spell it W-O-R-K. Okay, is to actually spell it W-O-R-K. So relationships are all about work, how we can fit things in, how we can do things from that perspective. So remember, please, I am going to ask you guys to make sure that you do mute yourselves. It's going to be your responsibility. I can't keep checking that you're muted. Please, 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 I would really appreciate it. Like I said before, we've covered our values, and one of the things here in this particular group, people are going to share things about themselves if they wish to. I'm going to ask us to just respect each other's feelings and opinions. Opinions are other people's opinions, and we do not need to take other people's opinions. So please understand that. Also, I'm sharing from my perspective, and it is each and every one of our own responsibilities for us to individually make sure that we take responsibility of our personal growth and what we want to do and how we want to grow and where we want to grow. And also, we need to understand that some people just don't want to grow, and that's okay. So we must understand in life, not everybody wants to be on the same page as what we're on. So we as individuals need to understand that that is okay. It is okay if somebody else is on a different page to you, even though it might frustrate the living, you know what, out of you. All right. We also looked at one of our great things, which is our values. We looked at last week as well, a couple of weeks ago. Our life purpose we had a look at. And it is important for us to realize that it is, sorry, just muting someone else. It's our responsibility to search out what our life purpose is, and we cannot wait for others to come along and give it to us. We need to work through that process and take ourselves through it. All right. Then excellence never happens by chance. It is always the result of hard work, purposeful planning, and the ability to see stumbling blocks as opportunities. So we need to try and strive for excellence. Okay, we are not striving for perfection, because perfection is of the flesh. If you're looking for perfection, then perfection is my husband's phone is just going off ballistic here. Perfection is not good. We are not looking for perfection. None of us will be perfect. We are not meant to be perfect. However, nothing prevents us to strive for excellence. And excellence is something that we should be looking for and should be trying to work towards. Okay. So if you understand that, excellence never happens by chance. It is always a result of hard work, purposeful planning, and the ability to see stumbling blocks as opportunities. And that is one of the things that I've totally admired about the leadership in Element. They've seen stumbling blocks as opportunities all along the way, which has really been something that's taught me a lot as I've gone through this. So as we learned in the previous session, life purpose plus excellence is always going to give you significance. So if you're striving for excellence in life and you know what your life purpose is, that is when you come to a place of feeling significant. And the things that you do are coming from a space of being significant as opposed to meaningless. And so when you aimlessly wake up in the morning and you keep doing things mediocre, it actually ends up being meaningless. So meaningless plus mediocrity is aimlessness. And we don't want to be walking around aimlessly. We want to be focusing on how we can actually fulfill our life purpose, achieve excellence, so that what we do becomes significant for ourselves and for those that are around us. And that's why we're going through these 3 sections, which is self, relationships, and leadership. So we're now going to focus on the relationship side for today. So you know you're going to get the star. We're going to cut out the star that's going to be looking at these sessions that we're going to be looking at here. And the first one I'm going to look at tonight is, in actual fact, lemon. I know 1 or 2 of you on this session have actually done your lemon profiles. Most people haven't, and I would highly recommend that you do your lemon profile, because once you understand, I know, I think, yep, Vilma's done hers a little bit, quite some time back. And once you understand what your profiling is, like I've said before, it's not all about one profile. It is about multiple profiles. And I'm just going to click here and say stop share here quickly and put that on. Okay, so if I actually have a look here, and I did have my piece of paper in front of me, and you can see I've got it Yeah, it's got lots and lots of squares. So when we need to understand that profiling tests are things that are not meant to block you and I. They're not meant to put us in boxes, and they are things that are supposed to help us to understand and explain who we are. So the DISC profile is one of the profiling tests that one would understand. And when you look at what a DISC profile is, the DISC profile shows you basically how you behave under emotional pressure. Now, a lot of people actually utilize the DISC profile to employ you and get yourself a job. Now, that can work, but it's actually the wrong profiling test for that specific thing. All it will do is highlight, and this is where people don't utilize the profilings in their right context. And your lemon actually would help you also to understand how you can actually lead people differently. So that's why we're going to have a look at this, because it is about relationships and it's about knowing each other. And once on one of the previous sessions, we've looked at the DISC profile, how important for that is. So we're going to start looking at the lemon leadership types, and it's the different ways that we lead people, which is actually very fascinating. So it shows a different dynamic. Now the two almost will mesh hand in hand, and they will complement each other. Then another one that you've got, which I would highly recommend you do, is Strength Finders, an absolute brilliant. It finds you where you focus and where you function most, and is really good at job application and making sure that the types of things that you do are really, really good. So that's your Strength Finders. Then Myers-Briggs is how you actually, again, that's a profiling test that gets used extensively in the workplace. And yet it's actually more about how, not so much how you actually function in a workplace. It's actually more how you actually get and rejuvenate your energy. So let me give you an example. In my Myers-Briggs profile, I'm an introvert. So now if somebody's employing me and they see me, they're going to see me as an extrovert. Now I go complete the test. It shows one dynamic of my profiling, which actually says in the workplace, I'm actually an introvert. So now how does this flesh out? If you do my DISC profiling, I'm an extrovert. So I'm an extroverted DISC, but I'm an introvert in the Myers-Briggs. Whereas Anthony, on the other hand, he's an extrovert in the DISC profiling, but he's an extrovert as well in the Myers-Briggs. How does this work when both of our profiles are very similar in the DISC profiling? And that's because in the Myers-Briggs, when it comes to how do I regain my energy, how do I recoup? I need to recoup by being away from people. I need to recoup by closing myself in my house, sitting with my Yorkies, watching TV, and quietly staying away from people. Anthony, on the other hand, needs more people because he's an extrovert in the Myers-Briggs profiling. So when we go to a conference and we're both team teaching or team training, when we leave there, I am emotionally drained and all I want to do is go home. Anthony is emotionally charged up and he needs more people. Okay, so it is a big difference between the two, and how do we in our relationship understand this, and how do we complement and make sure that we work within these areas. And then of course you've got your values, which are very important, because remember, you're going to make decisions based from your values as well. Okay, so that is also something that's very, very important for you as well. And there's a whole lot of other tests. So please, when you are looking at profiling, it is very important that profiling is never limited to one type of profile, and no one person should push one profiling, because we're a combination of them. And you can see how if I just worked off the Myers-Briggs, I would be feeling very guilty being an extrovert and then saying I'm not actually fitting into this profiling. So it is important for us to make sure that we encompass all of them and actually put yourself on a journey and mind map yourself on all the different profiles. So that's my recommendation. Anthony and I both got our PhD in these particular topics, and there's a whole lot of others that I would highly recommend that you do. And this is what one of them that we're doing. So I just love lemon because it's lemon leadership types, and it's how you would actually function from a leader perspective. So although you haven't done the actual test, and the test is 200, and let me just check with Anthony. How much is the test? 250 to do the lemon test. Oh, is it 500 Rand? Okay, so if you wanted to do the Lemon Leadership Test, which I would highly recommend, it's 500 Rand. Just contact us. We'll put you in contact with the people here in South Africa that actually do it. Both Anthony and I are trainers for Lemon. Here in South Africa, there's a handful of trainers, but it is really something that's really worth your while looking at it. Okay, so let's go back to sharing screen. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. And I would highly recommend it as well. The Buckingham profile is interesting, and that's your, you know, there's quite a few, there's a whole lot of profiles that I really recommend that one does. Okay. Then we will be looking at emotional mastery. We're going to be looking at communication, how we communicate so differently. We look at conflict resolution, and we're going to look at assertiveness. Okay, so those are the topics we're going to be covering here. But tonight we're only going to be looking at Lemon. Okay, so got to ask yourself a question, and I would love you to actually do this as an exercise. So what you're going to do as an exercise, you're going to go and write down, and I would suggest you actually do this. And the reason being is because it's very profound. We are at different places with different people at different times in our relationships. So what you should actually do is you should actually write down, because remember, you are different people to different people at different times. So you're a mother, or a father, you're a daughter or a son, you're a cousin, and you know, you're a cousin, you're a work colleague, you're a boss, you're a tennis coach, which means you're coaching. There's a whole lot of things. If you're at the church, you're doing something in the community at the church. If you're doing something at a social club, there's a position that you've got there. And what you and I need to understand is that we bring this one personality into all of those areas. However, we have a tendency to behave very differently in each of these areas, as opposed to behaving the same in all the areas. And that is because of the different personalities that bring certain things out of us in each of these areas. You're a network marketing leader, you're whatever you are in your team. So I would suggest you go and you write down every single name of the person that you interact with. All right. So your list should reach easy between 50 and 100 people, believe it or not. And we all say, I have no friends. Well, you need to list yourself as one. Okay, how are you with yourself? What are you saying to yourself? Then you've got to list your partner's name. You've got to list your children's names, your grandchildren's names. You've got to list every person that you interact with, even in the office. I would do people that mostly on a daily basis that you at least come into contact with. Okay, family, then go cousins and all that kind of thing. And then list the type of relationship that you have with each of these people. Because the type of relationship is going to help you identify when something goes wrong in that relationship. Do you know those people's values? Because remember, we've done values, and most of our conflict will happen over a value as opposed to a personality. And I know for a fact that if I go and I interact with, I'm going to handpick, let's say handpick Sylvia, okay, or handpick Paula. Now, Paula and Sylvia are people who are more reserved, and they're more the introvert type of personalities up front when you meet them. Okay, when you get to know Paula, Paula comes out of her shell and she goes into the extrovert side. But if I meet her for the first time and I come in there forceful, she's going to back off. So I need to understand, who am I and which profile people actually don't like me. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, but the truth of the matter is, it is what it is. Okay, so the first time I met Elsie, all I had done is, I'm going to meet this lady that I've chatted to on a WhatsApp. We've chatted on a Zoom call. We've got to know each other. We've very seldom had actually even seen us, other than our actual pictures. And Elsie had probably seen mine, but I hadn't seen her. But I'm going to meet this lady at the airport. I know her from the business, but I don't know Elsie. So when I walk in, I have got to do quick observations as how quickly does she stand up? How quickly? Because if I went in this forceful human being, I would have shut Elsie down. I had to go in. Yes, I was still my extrovert self, but my hand movement was smaller. I was still, hey, hi, it's good good to see you. But it was, hey, hi, it's so good to see you. It's really awesome to meet you. I'm so exhausted. I'm starving. Okay. And she's so related with that. We hit it off from that moment. But if I'd gone, hey, hi, how are you, with these big hands, she would have thought, okay, how soon can we end this conversation? Okay, so guys, it's so important that we know this kind of stuff. All right, let's share screen again. Okay, so are there sparkles in your relationships? You need to understand that. So I would suggest you go and do that as your homework as well. So this is the theme we're going to be looking at, lemon. All right, Brett Johnson, who's actually the author of Lemon. You can actually buy the book. All right, I've got the book. It's really a classic book to read as well, and helps go through what I'm sharing with you in a lot more detail. So also when you do the Lemon and we put you in contact with the guys, please ask them for the book. I would suggest you get it. It's called Lemon Leadership. I'll show you the book now. If it's true that people are our most valuable asset, how can we value them if we don't know them? So profound. So often they say, you know, if we think about it, people are our most valuable asset. But if we don't understand people and we understand how they function, and we understand how, so for example, Tessa knows me very, very well. So last week was my birthday, but also it was my second year that I had a birthday without my mum. And that just threw me off. I couldn't function. So when she started seeing me canceling Zoom calls and canceling things, it wasn't because I was going on birthday days. It was just I couldn't cope with people. I needed to do the Myers-Briggs thing, and I needed to hide away from people because I needed to get my energy back. I needed to get the me back again for you, okay? And Tessa knew this, so she tapped into it, and she came and she checked that I was okay and all the rest of it. But guys, we've got to understand, it's not because we don't understand this, it's because it's who we are. Now, if she didn't care for me as a friend and didn't value, she would have just said, oh, look, there goes Michelle canceling something. And I canceled everything that week. Okay. But we need to know why people, even once I also did something, and Juanita, immediately after the Zoom call, typed and said to me, Mish, are you okay? All right, because she's getting to know me. She knows how I function, when I function. She's observing me. And that's what we've got to get ourselves to, is know when someone's not right. Okay. And we've got to be there for them. And that's how we make people feel very valuable. So this is what the cover of the book looks like. It's called Lemon Leadership. And it really is a radical leadership approach. And so it's from the Institute of Innovation, Integration and Impact. And Doug's brother, Doug, is here in South Africa, and Brett is in the United States. So we all know, we've all done this to our kids, haven't we? Bet you've all done it. Hey, giving them a little taste of a lemon. We've all done it. Okay, Peter Drucker says, we will have to learn first who we are. We don't know. When I ask the students of mine, for example, do you know what you're good at? Most of them say, no, we don't know what we're good at. Okay, so yep, we've all done that, haven't we, Fran? And it's like, oh, give them another piece. All right, so we often do that. So a profound thing for us is that we need to actually understand who we are and how we function. Okay, so we're going to be looking at many leaders don't actually understand their character. They don't understand their personality. Do they enjoy lemons? Oh my heavens. Oh, that's amazing. So we've got to understand what our character is, what our personality profiles are, what are our gifts, what are our talents, what skills do I bring, what is my intellect, what's my emotional IQ, where am I? And these kind of things totally fire me up, because it is so important to understand that we need to be more effective. And for order for me to be more effective, I need to understand who I am. So looking at the lemon leadership types, there are 5 types. So if we look at it like this, the L is for luminary. So you get these luminary leaders. Anthony's a luminary leader, 100%. He sees everything from a helicopter perspective, okay? Now, there's a big difference between being a visionary and a luminary. There's 2 very big different things. So we all have vision, we all can see vision, but most of us don't function in the luminary area, okay? Then your E is your entrepreneurial type leaders. Your M is your manager type leaders. O is the organizer type leader, and N you get your networker leader. All right. So these are very fascinating. And once I've done this with you, you're definitely going to want to do the test. Now, the luminary lives in the world of ideas. So they live in the world of ideas, idea after idea after idea, and they can see things. And I will never forget when we started our nonprofit organization way back. We actually started the organization in 2000, and then it was 2002, and our nonprofit organization is called Family Life Change Center. And we still have that organization, and we still function a lot of things through it. And Anthony woke up one morning and he said, oh, we went over to America to try and focus on the family and a couple of family organizations, what they were doing and that kind of thing. And he wakes up in the morning and he says to me, I feel so fantastic. I've been up all morning. I've just been downloaded a 25-year plan. And I'm like, are you serious? Who has a 25-year plan? Like, he had documented a 25-year plan. Now, I'm not a luminary leader by any means, okay? And I'm like, dude, I just need the next year. Like, I just need to go from this year and see what's happening this year. So I said to him, like, so give me your luminary plan. Like, you can give it to me like each year that I add on my need to know basis. Otherwise, it's so overwhelming for me. So when you speak to luminary type leaders, you can become very overwhelmed by them. Entrepreneurs live in the space of opportunities. They see opportunities, they grasp opportunities, and they take up opportunities. Now, we all have a little bit of everything in us, but primarily we'll have more in us than others. Okay, the least of mine is luminary. Managers function from the space of systems. All right, so systems work. Organizers, they live in the world of tasks. Let's get things done now. Let's get things done like yesterday now, okay? And then networkers, they live in the world of connections, all right? Who's who, connected, that kind of thing. So I'm pretty sure you might start getting an idea of who you are, and I'd love to see by the end of this who you think I possibly could be. All right. Luminaries will always ask why. Entrepreneurs will always ask why not. The managers will always ask, how are we going to do this? The task people are going to ask what needs to be done. And of course, the networkers are going to ask who is doing what. Okay, so these are the parameters in which they live in, and you can see it's very similar. No, we haven't covered this kind of thing in the disc profiling, but you'll know on the disc profiling, there's also these kind of things as well. So each slice of lemon, you're going to define reality differently. You're going to have a starting point that's different. You're going to work differently from different places. Yes, most definitely can be more than one. You will most primarily be two. Okay, and I'm going to talk about the two, but primarily you're going to be two that will come out on top. Okay, so two of them will be very strong, and then the others will wane away from there. Very seldom will you have all of them equal, because that just doesn't function well. You can try, and if you manipulate the test and that happens, then you've manipulated the test. I'll be honest with you. Okay, so the depth of vision you can see here. Luminaries have this long depth of vision. Entrepreneurs have a short depth of vision. Okay, your managers will have a much longer depth of vision. Your organizers, which are task focused, will be very short visionaries, luminaries. Okay, very, very, very short. And then of course you've got your networkers that will always look at their depth of vision from different perspectives. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the strengths. And then I hope you guys are trying to, from the strengths, you should start working out more or less who you are. All right, so the strengths of a luminary, from their head, they see things clearly, they know how to articulate them clearly, they blend principle and passion behind purpose. Okay, your entrepreneur intuitively senses the viability of options, like instinctively. There's an opportunity. Managers, they can stay the course on planning that takes time, and they have the patience to flesh out ideas. So now I'm pretty sure I was going to give something away, but anyway. Organizers sees the practical implication of other people's visions. Okay, what it takes to get things done. Okay, and then networkers is they see the possibilities in the networks of people and organizations. All right, so that's how we all function from a thinking perspective. The doing perspective, a luminary, they're able to do things better than many others the first time. Okay, they just like those people that just do everything right all the time. I always say Anthony was never born a child, he was born an adult, because he just does everything right. He's perfect. He always just does everything right all the time. Okay. All right. Entrepreneurs can pull things together very quickly, focus on early action, and make things happen. Okay. They doers. Your managers have a good understanding of the competencies that are needed to build results. All right. Your organizers quickly get to doing critical tasks needed for a 70% solution. So please, if you are one of those people that function, let's say, for example, now, take your disc profiling, and you are a C or a melancholy, where everything's got to be checks and balances and checks and balances and checks and balances, and everything needs to be 100% perfect before working. An organizer leader is going to frustrate the living crap out of you because 70% is good enough. Okay, and you're going to say, what kind of leader is this? But we need to 100% your mom. I love it. So you can see that when you're dealing with an organizer, you need to understand that 70% is good is their 100%, and it's okay, you need to move on. All right, and just come to that understanding. Then your networker intuitively senses of when to call people to keep the network primed. So you will, from a networker leader or a networker leadership type person, they will pick up the phone when they need you. All right, so in my previous network marketing company, I have had a network leader that was exactly like that. He would only pick up the phone when he knew that he needed to tap into you for something. Other the rest of the time, he went into a black hole. And then you would see him around, and he'd be chatting on Facebook Lives and all the rest of it. But you were the last person that was even important to him until he needed you again. Okay, and that's unfortunately how they do function. Does it mean he doesn't care? No, completely the opposite. It's just that's not how he functions as a leader. All right, and that's important to know. A luminary, they will embrace people who have passion for the same idea and causes, like they click with the same causes and ideas, and then they will run with them, okay? And nothing can stop them. Your entrepreneurial leader will create a level of energy that others warm to, creates emotional attachments. And you know why they do this? Because an entrepreneurial leader needs to move on to the next opportunities. So they're going to get you emotionally attached to this existing opportunity. So when they move on, they have leaders carrying on with that particular project. Okay, it's entrepreneurs, and that's what entrepreneurs do. Entrepreneurs move from one thing to the next thing, and it's okay. Managers, they slowly build long-term working relationships that stand the test of time. Then you've got your intuitive organizers, intuitive sense of the needs and wants of other people. They know stuff is happening, things are going on, okay? And your networker makes everybody feel like they're their best buddy when they're in front of him, okay? And like they cannot do without them. And then, of course, when you're out of sight, out of mind. Now, what's important is each one of us have got a primary style that we function in, and we have a secondary style that we function in. And what is interesting about this is that we will function in our primary less than we function in our secondary. And the reason being is because most of us are all the time working under emotional pressure. And when you're under emotional pressure, your secondary becomes your primary. So even if, let's say, for example, you're a luminary organizer, okay, so that you could be a luminary organizer. So what happens is when you are under emotional pressure or things are happening, you will then function as an organizer, which means you will go do the work of other people, okay, that should be doing the work, because you're now quickly trying to make sure that everything gets done. instead of spending time in your luminary, which helps take the organization going forward. And I really hope Anthony's listening to me on that particular topic I've just spoken about. Okay, so your primary will become your secondary when we're under pressure. Okay, I can feel myself swing very often. Absolutely, we do. And it's difficult to get us back again, but that's why we've got to know how to understand how we function in other profiles to get ourselves back very quickly. Okay, so it is important for us to realize that we will function from that area. Okay, so it's 9 minutes past. It's absolutely awesome. Are there any questions anybody would like to ask before we go on to the challenges that each of these have? Has anybody sort of worked out more or less what I could be? Have you worked out? Okay, I've given you Anthony's a luminary organizer. Okay. Vilma, you've done the test. What did you just unmute yourself and tell us what you were?
I am a luminary entrepreneur.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So you can see your entrepreneurial coming up quite often when the pressure's underneath. Okay, I can see that as well. I can see it. Now that you've said that, yeah, definitely. Awesome. Thanks.
I see that in you as well, but I think you're also you swing to the manager, I think, the organizer. You with your lists, your 3 diaries.
Okay, so Vilma, you're 100% correct. I am a manager organizer.
Yeah.
So I'm there to keep all the things in a row, and then when I default to under pressure, I go straight to organizer, and that's when I start doing everything for you guys. Okay. And now you can imagine both Anthony and I, our secondary is organizers, so we both go into emotional stress, and now you're going to see the challenges that we face, not just as a couple, but as people that have worked together, because we've been working together for 20 something years. Okay. 2000 we started working together, so we've worked almost every single day, other than when he started with Lifestyle Galaxy and started going to an office. Was the first time, which was 2015, so 5 years, is the first time him and I have not been day and night side by side working together. Okay, so he comes up with the ideas, and I'm the one who implements all his ideas. All right. Okay, so let's now continue with this. I just love these kind of things. Okay, cool. So you're getting some value out of this so far? Yes, no?
All the time.
Elsie's saying thumbs up. If Vilma's saying thumbs up, awesome. Hope you guys are getting some value. Yes, 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 yes. Thank you. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I think very strong, Janine, your husband could be a networker, have a lot of network in him, hey? I'm pretty sure. Adrian, a lot of network in him, running just people all the time. Love it. Awesome. Great. I think he could. I'd love to know what his test would turn out like. Okay, cool. Super. So let's continue. Let's press the buttons. Okay, so let's have a look at the different challenges that each one of these have. Okay, so your luminary's biggest challenge is that they can become very narrowly focused on their own ideas. Okay, and this is very, so if you get in a room and you've got a couple of luminaries together, and especially if one of them could be a manager luminary, now you've got a luminary organizer sitting in the room, and the luminary organizer's trying to stay in his luminary primary and stay without getting stressed. But what happens is the other luminary, who could be a manager luminary, starts getting under emotional pressure. Now he wants to push his idea forward. So he's going to come forward and start pushing his idea, which will cause the other luminary organizer to then default into organizer mode. And then we'll start seeing how this all plays out. And when you see this at a boardroom table, it is the most fascinating when you understand this and you start actually seeing it happening in the boardroom. It is absolutely, it's hilarious because it just fleshes itself out. Okay, entrepreneurs will now start seeing opportunities where there are none. Okay, and they have a tendency to fail to learn from past experiences. All right, they have a tendency to just keep going. Okay, let's just make sure we're all muted. Thank you. All right, managers. Okay, so this is my primary. The lack of creativity and spontaneity of a luminary, entrepreneur, and networker. They resent ideas that are not their own. Okay, I'm going to give you a perfect example. I'm going to be so transparent with you. Okay, Juanita, are you here? Yes. All right. So, being a manager, I have to be in control of everything. Okay, absolutely everything. Now, being a high sanguine as well, I need to be the popular kid on the block as well. Okay, so I'm doomed for failure. Okay, so here comes somebody who's as brilliant as me. Okay, and now starts teaching and like, excuse me, sister. And then she starts doing Bitcoin. And I'm like, no, this ain't gonna happen. Like, how can she start taking the limelight? And I'm like, and Anthony, he like looks at me and says, oh, guess who's defaulting to organize? And I'm like, but why? And then I realized, oh, because I didn't come up with that. So no, it's not fair. And meanwhile, it's because I'm resenting the idea didn't come from me. So I have to play through all these flipping emotions. Poor old Juanita's got to be at the other end of it. And I'll do my little, because remember my B, so I'll have a little sting and I'll say a little comment. And Juanita just carries on and she probably thinks this woman is such a bitch. I really don't understand how she's become a networker that she has, but she's like the stupidest. But when you understand this, you can get back very quickly. And so it's now, no, I'm going to be the worst person trying to explain to you how Bitcoin works and how it all works, because I know it, I know how to do it, but it's not my thing. Okay, it's my thing because I have to do it, but it's not my thing to teach, which means Juanita teaches it. Okay, so guys, if you come up with an idea, you can actually just say, Mish, I know this is not your idea, but I'd like to throw something past you. Then I'm over it. Okay. Okay, but this is a weakness. All right, so there's transparency for you. We need to please keep doing the Bitcoin, and welcome to Bethany, who's going to join you and help you. Okay, so do you see? Now you're going to deal with all this stuff and people, and if you don't understand it, when they react in a stupid way, when you bring up an idea, now you know this. So the next time we need to, or any of you bring up an idea, and I act out of character, or I start like giving you the cold shoulder, or I don't respond to you, or whatever it is, just say, give her 15 minutes. She's going to get over it. She's going to realize that it's a manager default and it's the bad side of who she is. She'll come right. Okay, guys, so that is how it works. I'm sorry. Thanks, Juanita, for doing that. So I just thought I'd share that with you. Okay, so this is how it works in real life, guys, and this is what transparency is about, and this is why we work as a team well, when we start understanding why a person does what they do. Okay, so when you start seeing this flesh out on a boardroom table, now think about this. Let's go back to share screen. Thanks, Juanita. Now, can you picture a luminary coming up with his ideas, and the manager didn't? And the manager happens to be a manager luminary, and you're now sitting at a boardroom table. Holy moly. Okay. All right. Now this is our default to this one, remember, creates issues where there are none in order to be useful or in control. So I'm going to create issues because it's not my own freaking idea. I'm doomed to failure. How the hell can I lead you guys? Do you see what I'm saying? So if we don't know this stuff, when I start behaving like this, because I now know it, I've got to send myself to the room, go debrief myself, get my headspace right, and come out and lead again. Okay, because this is the reality of life, guys. Okay. It is. Okay, and she just invited you to her group. I know, I asked her. Okay, love you too, Fran. I said, please, can I come on your group? Okay, all right. Networkers are poor at assessing reality. They need to be liked, and they don't see bad news. Okay, they're so optimistically positive, it's ridiculous. Okay, so they like Energizer bunnies with regards to this. Okay, all right. Okay, luminaries can become disconnected from the organizations that they lead. All right, so when they go into this negative mode, Michelle wants to make sure I don't do stuff she's not aware of. Juanita, you're 100% correct. 100%. I just need to be in the loop all the time. I'm painful, absolutely painful. But I keep saying I like my leaders to go and do what they want to do. And I like my leaders to go, but I also want to be involved. I want to just see what's happening. Okay, control freak, manager, organizer. Okay, let's have a look at entrepreneurs. I'm doomed. Okay, so I often say I should never have tried to become a leader. It's just the craziest thing. I'm not doomed for failure. Okay, but anyway, fortunately, one of my values is perseverance, and I shall persevere. Okay, entrepreneurs can lack the depth of skill to see where professional management is needed. Okay, so we know somebody, Juanita, that we are on regularly, and they lacked for a long time the depths of skill to see where management was needed, but they're now starting to come right. Okay, at least knew that I have nothing to hide, so you're welcome. I know that, absolutely. Awesome. Okay. All right, managers can become rigid and force others to play by the rules. All right. Okay, organizers' unwillingness to grow causes downplaying of systems and ideas of others. So do you see what I'm saying? Thank you, Fran. I just got to get over myself, and that's the hard part. But it's a daily exercise, guys. But do you see how important? If I didn't know this, I wouldn't be able to grow. Okay. Poor follow through, random. If not accountable, thinks that things are getting done when they're not getting done, and that's your networker. From a heart perspective, okay, so I'm just going through this very quickly because of time, but can you see if we could spend hours on this, how much fun it would be? And I think we really need to do this when we start actually getting together face to face. I think we really need to do this even more detail. Right, Luminees will write off those who cannot track with their own ideas or are too slow. Okay, entrepreneurial side, they quickly pass over those who don't want to play on their team or jump to their next opportunity. Perceived as being cool and calculating, have high external walls which become barriers, and that's, you see, this is like I can't change that. Somebody else wrote my own script for me. Okay, yep, the truth is the truth. Okay, and then organizer builds loyalty to the organizer than builds loyalty to an organizer rather than the organization. Okay, so an O will always, what's more important to an O is themselves and their self-preservation than it is to the organization. Okay, networker delays in sharing bad news, leaves people hanging, black holes in the relational radar. Okay, so those are some of the challenges that we face, and you can see why, oh my dear, I have to send myself to the room on a regular basis. Okay, so there we have it. I'm not going to go into communication tonight because there's a whole lot. So I think let us rather carry on this session next week, because we do have how each one communicates. And I don't want to rush through that because I don't know, I just found these kind of things so interesting and so worthwhile. So I don't want to just completely rush, but just to me too, I love this kind of thing, Fran. So just to, I think he's definitely a networker. Definitely got network. It's either his primary or his secondary. I definitely think. So remember, ideas is your luminary, and they would rather lose money than compromise, okay, on their own ideas, luminaries. Entrepreneurs, opportunity, they're going to protect, they will always see opportunities and make sure those opportunities are what's the word I want? Success-making opportunities. They see them, they understand them, okay? And then thanks, Liz. And systems, your managers, your systems, and that's your policies, your procedures, and your products. Their systems are always the right ones. Okay, so please, guys, why do you think you have a Facebook page with all the videos on, and not any other leader in Element has got that? Okay, it's because that's where I sit and I think, how can I spoon feed everybody to make sure that I have all my little soldiers doing the right things? Okay, and then of course, organizer will always protect the leader of an organization and themselves. Okay, so it doesn't matter what they do, they will always stand up for the leader. Okay, and if that's who the leader is, they will protect the leader, and then secondly, they will protect themselves as well. And the rest of you, it doesn't matter. All right, so we love you all. All right, sorry, I'm just a crazy nutter. All right, networkers, they will look after the whole web of people and relationships and that kind of thing. But if something goes wrong, they go into a black hole and they're under emotional pressure with that. So I'm not going to rush off into, if you don't guys mind, I'd love to just hear from you. What was something interesting you got out of tonight's session? Because it really is very informative, I agree. And it's powerful to know this kind of thing. Now, take this with your disc profiling, put it side by side, and you starting to see, how you actually function. So that's what I've got on this sheet of paper. I really need to do it again. I've had this sheet of paper for like, I cannot even tell you how many years. It's really, like you can see, it's like really, it's got stains on it, and also I really need to do it again. But I've got Anthony, I've got myself, and then I've got how he can be all the different things. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different types of profile tests. That's why we wrote the book. I wrote the book, How to Get Your Dad Degree. He wrote the book, How to Get Your Mom Degree. I don't know if you guys even know we have books that we've written. And it is all about studying each other and getting a degree in each other. And that's all. So what have you learned from the session? Nobody's saying anything. Type in, unmute. What was something that you learned? Fran, go for it.
I learned that I'm actually an entrepreneur and a networker, because I was telling my mom, one of my team members didn't attend and she wasn't responsive, and it drove me, I went into that black hole. It drove me insane, and it was one out of the whole team. And my mom kept telling me, it's okay, she'll come around. It's not that she doesn't believe in the product or she's not, but it drove me crazy, because I said, what is keeping this woman so busy that she can't just respond to me? Like, I wanted to know what's happening. And it drove me crazy. That connection was broken. And eventually we had to chat. And she said, no, my child was sick. And I thought, well, I guess that is a good reason, but not telling me anything, I couldn't handle that. So it's awesome that I found out what
Absolutely.
I'm like.
Absolutely. And you do have a tendency to go into black holes, and every now and again I've got to say, oh gosh, I haven't heard from Fran for about 2 weeks. Hi Fran, how are you? Are you out there? And then I know you've gone into a black hole. I'll see, I agree. Yeah.
My mom is a manager and an organizer as well.
I think so. I think so. Yes. She functions very much like I function.
Yeah, she thinks like you actually as well.
She functions. I've noticed that in our interactions that she's a lot of manager in her functions from that space. Awesome, thanks guys. And Elsie, I agree with you. Entrepreneur and networker. You like me, they're pretty low, and a lot of people actually think I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm actually not an entrepreneur. I think mine is manager, organizer, networker, entrepreneur, luminary. My luminary is like very, very, very tiny. But yet, being a sanguine and a high I, when you put me into a think tank with a group of people, and we've got a think tank, I will sit there and I will probably say nothing for about 15 minutes, and then I warm up, and then boy, do those ideas start coming out. But I've got to get myself into that space of it, but it's not natural. Whereas Anthony, it's like it's natural. Okay, I think I'm between it. Yep, Krista, I also think you're definitely also between manager organizer, 100%. So it is difficult for manager organizers to actually be in network marketing companies. Because it's not natural for us to pick up the phone and phone people and talk to people. And guys, if you put me in a room, I walk into a room and you can ask Anthony, I am the last person to speak and connect with people. I just don't know how to do it. I'm really the quietest, most introvert when it comes to if we're going to a cocktail party or to a place where I don't know people. I am so introvert, it is frightening. However, once I get to know people, put me in the room, you all know that I'm there. Okay, so awesome. Anybody else like to share what they've learned? We've got 2 minutes. Paula, I think you're also a manager organizer with your systems.
I think that it's amazing to look into the mirror. And well, what fascinates me is that, yes, I know where I am, but I recognize myself more in the challenges than the strengths.
Me too. Me too. I think
And
that's
the opportunity to learn, I think.
100%. I also recognize myself in the challenges. And do you know why? It's because most of us live in that space more than we live, which tells us a story that we're living in a place of stress. We are behaving from that place of stress. That's why we recognize it. Because it's very seldom that we find ourselves, 70% of the time, even 80% of the time, we're living in that stress zone from work and people and children and all of that. So we identify with it because we haven't, we don't know, and we've never been taught. We've been taught this is how you function, but we haven't been taught, now how do I get myself, what must I do to put myself into the unstressed thinking mode of working, and that's the hard place. So I do as well. And because we're just both go-getters and just make things happen, we tend to just, it's easier for us to function in the organizer because it makes things happen and we kick everything until it moves. Am I right? It's so much easier. Yes, Sylvia, also think you're manager organizer. It's actually funny, as I am an extrovert and my job is to pick up the phone and call clients. Maybe I don't know something about myself, Chris. That's so funny. But at least you can connect with people. But it is hard. Wow, that's so interesting. Awesome. Awesome, guys. Thank you for sharing it. So those of you who would like to do the test, please just let me know. It's really worth the best 500 Rand you can spend. You get a nice report, and it tells you how you function in your primary, where you function in your secondary, why you're functioning in the secondary, what to do to overcome it. I mean, this Luminary course, when we do it, we normally do it for corporates, and we normally will do 2 days. Because the first day is everybody needs to do their test. Then we go in and we talk about the foundations, and then we've got to talk about all the basics and get everybody's understanding. And then and that's where most companies would have stopped, because it is all about, oh well, this is you, go for it. Okay, but how do you function? How do you function as a team? It's really powerful stuff. So absolute pleasure, guys. Love sharing this kind of thing. It'll be great to put it out there. Enjoy it. And we'll carry on. And next week, we'll look at how we communicate differently. So we looked at the strengths. So that's when you're having a good day. We looked at the challenges, because that's when we're having a bad day. Next week, we'll look at the different ways we communicate. And then, because I don't want to rush through that, because how we communicate in content, media, how we communicate, the frequency, and now you will understand why some of us battle with social media, okay, and that we can't communicate. Awesome. Glad you had an absolute ball. Thank you. Bless you guys. Have a great evening, and we'll catch you all tomorrow. Cheers. Bye. Cheers. Thanks, Liz. Bye, everybody. Thanks, Keith.